China's 1.4 billion citizens make up nearly 20% of humanity. If they disappeared, the world's population shrinks overnight. As a result, India suddenly becomes the clear demographic giant, while Africa emerges as the fastest-growing region on Earth. And entire cultures vanish too. No Confucianism, no Taoism, no Mandarin, the most spoken language in the world, gone. The shock is not only cultural, though. The world also loses its biggest labor force. Factories, farms, and industries worldwide rely on Chinese workers. Losing them is like removing the workforces of the United States, Mexico, Canada, and Brazil combined. That collapse in manpower would trigger a supply chain crisis almost immediately. Meanwhile, the Chinese diaspora, communities running restaurants, shops, and businesses across every continent, would vanish as well. Their cultural and economic contributions erased, and yet the cultural shock is only the beginning. Because when you remove China's people, you also erase one of the most powerful engines of the global economy. China's economy is worth over $17 trillion, nearly 1/5 of the global total. If it vanished, markets everywhere would panic. As a chain reaction, trillions in investments and trade deals evaporate. Stock exchanges in New York, London, and Tokyo see their darkest days in history. China also holds more than $800 billion in U.S. debt. Losing that would destabilize currencies and shake confidence in the financial system itself. In manufacturing, gone. China produces more than a quarter of the world's goods. Imagine Walmart shelves empty, Apple unable to ship phones, pharmacies out of basic antibiotics. Prices for everyday goods skyrocket. Inflation spirals out of control. Nations like India and Vietnam might rush to fill the gap, yet scaling up to China's level would take decades. Tourism takes a hit as well. No Great Wall, no Forbidden City, no Shanghai skyline. Millions of travelers lose one of the world's most visited destinations. Money is one thing, but power is another. Without China's weight in global politics, the world map of alliances and rivalries is redrawn overnight. Without China's military and political weight, the balance of power collapses. The United States loses its main rival. On the surface, this looks like dominance restored, yet history shows that sudden power vacuums rarely bring peace. Russia expands its influence in Europe. Japan and South Korea feel exposed, pushing them toward rapid militarization, perhaps even nuclear programs. Meanwhile, North Korea, without its Chinese lifeline, risks collapse. At the United Nations, China's empty seat on the Security Council sparks a scramble. Would India take its place? Brazil? The entire framework of international diplomacy shifts overnight. And in dozens of nations tied to China's Belt and Road Initiative, economies unravel. Projects freeze mid-construction, ports are abandoned, governments tip into bankruptcy. When governments fall into crisis, it is not just politics that suffers. It's the very resources fueling modern life are suddenly thrown into chaos. China is the world's largest importer of oil, coal, iron, ore, and soybeans. Its disappearance wipes out that demand instantly. Oil producers like Saudi Arabia and Russia suddenly lose their biggest customer. Prices collapse, devastating economies built on exports. Brazil, Argentina, and the United States lose their largest agricultural buyer. Farms go bankrupt, yet there is a paradox. China also dominates rare earth processing, which powers smartphones, batteries, and green tech. So while farmers and oil producers collapse from oversupply, tech industries panic from shortages. The result is not a resource war, but a resource collapse that eventually pushes new buyers like India and Southeast Asia to fill the void. But losing resources is only half the story. Nature itself would feel the disappearance of China in ways that no market could ever replace. If China disappeared, global carbon emissions would drop by nearly 30% overnight. At first glance, this looks like good news: cleaner skies and slower global warming. However, China also leads the world in solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. Without that production, the clean energy revolution stalls just when it is most needed, and rivers like the Mekong and Yangtze which feed millions in neighboring countries, vanish too. Agriculture collapses across Southeast Asia. Nations like Vietnam and Laos face devastating water crises. Yet even those changes pale in comparison to what happens if China's land itself simply vanished from the map. Now picture the land itself disappearing. China's territory spans more than 9.5 million square kilometers. If it vanished, the Pacific and Indian Oceans merge into a single vast sea. The Himalayas lose their eastern anchor. Without the Tibetan Plateau, the water tower of Asia, over 1 billion people lose their rivers. Climate systems spiral, monsoons weaken, droughts spread, and the jet stream shifts. Maps are redrawn, shipping lanes vanish, and ocean currents change worldwide. This is not just a political crisis. It is a planetary one. And when the planet itself is reshaped, the foundations of food and farming do not escape the fallout. China eats half the world's pork and buys more fish and seafood than any other nation. If it vanished, farming worldwide implodes. Millions of pigs raised in the US, Europe, and Brazil would have no market. Fisheries across Asia and Africa collapse while grain markets spiral into chaos. For farmers, it is an apocalypse. For consumers, food prices swing unpredictably. While some goods become dirt cheap, others would disappear entirely. But even if the world finds new ways to eat, it cannot easily replace China's role in shaping the future of technology. China is not just a factory floor. It is one of the engines of global technology. Chinese scientists publish more research papers than the US. It leads in EVs, 5G, and AI. Take it away, and momentum stops. The EV revolution slows, the internet fractures into regional webs, and space exploration loses a major competitor. The future itself gets delayed. And beyond the loss of progress, there is something even harder to measure: the disappearance of a culture that has shaped humanity for thousands of years. Finally, there is culture. Humanity loses thousands of years of heritage. The Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, the Forbidden City, gone. Cuisine, martial arts, Lunar New Year, philosophy would all be erased. Even modern culture takes a hit. No TikTok, no Huawei, no BYD cars. The cultural void would be unlike anything humanity has ever seen. All of these consequences raise a final question. If the world lost China, would it collapse completely, or would it adapt and rebuild into something new? So, back to the main question. What if China disappeared? The world would face economic collapse, political instability, resource chaos, climate shifts, famine, and the loss of culture. Yet new alliances would rise, new powers would step into the gap, and humanity would be forced to rebuild. It is a reminder that our world is deeply interconnected. Move one piece, especially a giant like China, and everything else begins to unravel. We have now explored what would happen if the United States and China disappeared. Which country should we cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe and join MapMind Nation for more videos like this.